Hello, hello. Test, test, test. Audio good? How's the audio? How's the squeaky chair? Coming in loud and clear? Yeah? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I'm also gonna apologize in advance that my neighbor is like, for whatever reason, deciding to grill various meats right outside my window at 10 o'clock at night. So that's fucking awesome. So if you hear some dude, that's why. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the macro picture, and then we'll zoom in to what this shit is going on here with this trading range. So first, let's go to the macro view, and we'll get rid of that shit. So first and foremost, actually, let's go ahead and add Bollinger Band width. This is going to be important. Okay, so first and foremost, today is the first day we started to trend above the midline of the daily B bands. Okay, let's get rid of the EMAs because they're not serving any purpose right now. So let's talk about this, and let's make this a little bit more visible for you guys. Let's make that like that. We'll make you black. Okay. So where's my pen? Where did my pen go? I just had it. What in the hell? Where did that thing go? Oh, here it is. Okay. Cool. Okay, so here are the B bands, right? Boom, boom. And you can see that they've kind of been doing this like small intestine sort of zigzag. But what's interesting to note is that as time has progressed, the B bands have become more and more and more. Well, not that one, but more and more contracted. And right now, we're seeing a squeeze of the B bands here. You can see that the daily B bands are curving, indicating a lack of predicted volatility in the downward direction because there's this nice curve on the B bands. And if we zoom in even closer, we see that what was once resistance here, here several times, is now, well, it's too early to call it support, but we are above it. We've broken above this daily B band, and that is a very good thing for the bulls. Okay, so this is huge. This accomplishment is huge. Not only that, but it's happening as the B bands are starting to come in, and volume is starting to expand. So this is good. Okay. And as we zoom out, obviously, unless you've been in a hole for the past few months, we're making this giant symmetrical triangle sort of dealio, and it has a big ass price target. So let's go here, something like that. And something also important to note is that the overall volume has been going down, indicating that supply supply on these pushes is going less and less and less, and you can see it off of the reactions as we see decreasing supply on the way down. So as the price has made reactions to the rallies, something like that. Let's make this black. So as we see reactions to the rally, so here's the rally, here's the this is supposed to be black. So here's the rally, here's the reaction, right? We see expanding volume on the rally, which is good. Boom. We see expanding volume on the rally here, which is good. Boom. And also something that's good is decreasing volume on the reaction of the rally, which is here. And this, something like this, something like this is very good from a Wyckofian standpoint. because this indicates supply absorption. These higher lows on diminishing volume, and that combined with the trend of expanding volume on the rallies and contracting volume on the reactions, this is an indication of supply absorption in the market. And as we look on higher time frames, we see something that's very bullish here. I pointed this out a few days ago. But if you're familiar with the 3 pushes to a low or 3 pushes to a high is the counterpoint to this guy, this is the perfect setup here on the 3-day B bands. So we see a lower low. Well, to put %B on here. Here we go. So we see %B. Let's make it black. So the setup for a 3, so it's called 3 pushes to a low, which is the counterpoint to 3 pushes to a high. It's basically just a reversal setup. It's a visualization of decreasing momentum in a given direction. In our case, it's decreasing momentum in the downward direction, and likewise, the 3 pushes to a high would signal decreasing momentum in the upward direction. So it's just a relative form of momentum divergence, basically. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3. Right, so we see a low, a low, a low. The setup goes something like this. So on point 1 should be the furthest out. Point 1 should be the furthest outside the B bands. So here's point 1, and each consecutive low should be more and more inside the B bands in terms of %B. So this is %B. Okay. That combined with contracting B bands off of the reaction of the lows. So here's point 1, here's point 2, and here's point 3, and we see on each low the volume or the BBW, the Bollinger Band width, contracts, and this is huge. Okay, so right now we've got a big argument for supply absorption, and now we've got a 3 pushes to a low on the B bands. So right now we've got a very bullish argument on a macro perspective. Okay, there are some bearish arguments that I think we should definitely talk about. You may have seen me post this on Twitter. Let's get rid of you. Okay, the bearish argument is from the Ichimoku Cloud standpoint. So right off the bat, this is like everything you could want to see go wrong or right, depending on if you're short, is present on this chart. Okay, so we see the Chiku span trending through the cloud, below the price. We see a recross of the Tenkan and Kijun, and we see a big fat Kumo here on the 3-day. So this has like check in terms of what the Ichimoku Cloud is giving you on the 3-day. So it's a very conflicting standpoint, or a very conflicting argument between the Wyckoffean argument, the Bollinger Band argument, and the Ichimoku Cloud. Okay, I've yet to reconcile those conflicting signals. The only thing I can think of for why there would be such blatantly mixed signals like that is just due to how far overbought the Bitcoin market was for so long, and how much it just needed to consolidate. So, this is a very bearish setup, but the other setups are very bullish. So we got to remain a little cautious here. This isn't, in my opinion, this isn't like go all in on Bitcoin time. But it is a potential high, low risk, high reward setup to go long here. Okay. You got to keep in mind again that the Ichimoku Cloud is bearish, But the Bollinger Band setup and the Wyckoff setup is very nice. Okay. Do you guys have any, before I go any further, do you guys have any questions about any of that stuff? Did you see Peter Brandt's tweet? Yeah, I saw Peter Brandt's tweet. He thinks we're going to 15K. So yeah, that would be the price target of the symmetrical triangle. So if we look close, we see this symmetrical triangle here, which has a measured move of something like this. So 50, let's call it just 6K. If we break out here, it'd be 9.2 plus 6K is 15K. That's how he's getting that estimation. Notable that the Ichimoku is a lagging indicator. Yeah, that's also very true. It is a lagging indicator. Just like, moving averages are lagging indicators and all that stuff. So I'll wipe two of these here. Something also important to note too is if we zoom out and we make a nice fib set here, we're sitting right below the 61% retracement. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. So, if we do a fib retracement from somewhere down here to basically the top, we see that we're sitting just below the macro 61. So we've tested it once, twice, on weaker and weaker and weaker volume. So it stands to reason that if we break above this, we very well might see at minimum a retest of this zone, which is obviously the top of the symmetrical triangle here. So a breakout would be a consequence of that, right? So something else to keep in mind too, on the lower time frames, we see a really nice trading range that is giving mixed signals right now, and it's very difficult to get a clean read on it right now. Okay, so I'll talk about the various signals that we're getting here. Okay, so first and foremost, bullish argument here. There's a channel going downward. Okay, so we see a very clear supply and demand line. So here's demand. I'm sorry. Here's supply. Here's demand. Right, and we've broken through that. Okay, not only did we break through it, we broke out, we retested it, and we bounced off of it with increasing volume. So this is bullish. Okay, and if we zoom in to the actual trading range here, we see that we've been making consecutive higher lows. Right, every time we've swung low, we see a higher and higher and higher low. Okay. Something that I don't necessarily like about this is it's not very clean consolidation. For accumulation, we typically want to see decreased volatility and consolidating volume. You can make an argument that this is consolidating because the spikes are getting lower and lower. And this is definitely bullish for sure, like no question that it went down and I rejected it. So right now we're testing very key levels here. If you're interested in the Wyckoff trading ranges, it'll be labeled like this. We see preliminary supply. We see a selling climax, an automatic reaction. You can call this like a secondary test maybe. And then this would be a spring. Okay, this would be a low volume spring. So spring, low volume, which is good from an accumulation standpoint. This is bullish. A low volume spring means that there's no supply left to sell, and that the composite operator has absorbed everything at this level. Not only that, but this is very interesting as well. So let's zoom out to like the 6-hour chart. Let's see the 4-hour chart. And I put this up on Twitter as well. So if we look here, we've had accumulation at various levels in here. So we can draw very clear like horizontals in here. Let's make this red and thick. Okay, so let's go with there. So we see very clear accumulation here, right? With the V bottom. This obviously was an accumulation trading range here. Okay. This was obviously a distribution because we went down. But if we zoom out here, we see a very clean hypodermic line, the hypodermic trend line right here. Boom. This is the hypodermic. And everything above this is an argument I've been making for a while now, but and this goes hand in hand with the macro accumulation standpoint of decreasing volume, is that everything above this, it's likely that this has all been a shakeout, everything above this value, because this is when the media hype started breaking out. This is when, mom and dad started talking about this over Thanksgiving. They're like, oh shit, we got to buy here. And it just got crazy and crazy and crazy. And then obviously it just went and shit, right? So if we keep this price level in mind, which is the 61% retracement, okay, everything below this hypodermic breakout, which is this level right here, has been an accumulation. Okay, so we see this V bottom here, which is an accumulation. We see this accumulation TR right here. And what's very interesting to note is how well this fits right in this little gap right here. Okay, so we see accumulation here. Obviously this accumulation is not going to catch everything, right? You gotta, it's just like in boxing, like, you're not gonna knock out your opponent with one, most likely not gonna knock out your opponent with one strike. You're gonna have to set it up with multiple strikes. So, this would be like your first strike, your second strike, here's your third strike, right? And each time your opponent's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So we see the first blow, very heavy, V bottom that gets immediately bought up. Okay. And then we see here, we gapped up. We didn't gap up, but we filled a very large distance from here to here. This was a reaccumulation trading range. This was a reaccumulation trading range. So systematically, I see an argument for each price level being accumulation, 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 breakout. Okay. So we see this V bottom here. So we caught everything here. Okay. We caught everything here. We're catching everything here. We caught this level once, caught this level twice. And so it's stacking up here. You can argue that this was a distribution. And so now it's stacking up as accumulating everything leading up to the symmetrical triangle breakout. So there's a very bullish argument going on here. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this chart, and it's been very difficult to trade lately because bear markets are just hard as fuck to trade, man. They're just like, they're very difficult. They're full of bullshit setups, fake outs. There's a lot of traps. We're getting some buying here too. So anyway, before I talk about any other coins, do you guys have any questions or like, oh, we're about to make a new high. Look at that. Do you guys have any questions or like comments or like any input on anything I said? No spring? No spring what? Accumulations don't have to have springs. I don't know why that has become a meme all of a sudden, but accumulations do not have to have springs. Honestly, the bullish case makes the most sense to me in the way that the entire market is handling itself right now. I've been talking about Litecoin fucking ad nauseum, right? And that is the only way I can reconcile this gigantic consolidation pattern on Litecoin, for example, right? It's making the same exact the same exact accumulation pattern that Bitcoin's making, and it's within this gigantic fucking triangle, okay? If this triangle breaks down, that means that Litecoin's going to zero. This is a price target of like basically zero, $10 maybe, something like that. And that just doesn't make sense to me, because that combined with the Litecoin Bitcoin trend, which is a clear accumulation. This is clear accumulation here. That is the only way that I can marry those two ideas. So many coins look like they're set up for big moves, and Bitcoin having a further markdown, it doesn't sit well with me. You know, granted, the market doesn't give a shit about what my gut feeling is, but it just doesn't seem to make sense. Not only that, but if we look at stocks, for example, like they had a great close today. There's so many things going on in the financial market that it doesn't make sense to have a further markdown. I mean, sure, it could possibly happen, but there's just so many things to argue for the bulls right now. That is like the Occam's razor, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, it's bullish because it's in a bullish consolidation pattern. Supply is absorbing. Other coins are ready to mark up. You know, you see Litecoin ready to just fucking go nuts. You see Bitcoin Cash ready to just go nuts, right? It's making this big ass inverted head and shoulders. It's in an even larger accumulation trading range. Like, this is the only thing that makes sense to me, right? So, like, for example, with Bitcoin Cash, if you zoom out, you know, it's in this giant accumulation trading range. It had this jump across the creek. Right now, here's the back up to the edge of the creek, and it's ready for markup. Like, it's ready to go. So many coins are just primed. It doesn't make sense to me that the composite operator would allow for such a sustained markdown, because marking down Bitcoin would mark down the entire crypto market. And so many coins are primed for a mark up that this just doesn't make sense to me. Plus, it's making this bull pennant right here, which would shape out the right shoulder of this inverted head and shoulders right here. Right here. So, someone's yappy dog is very fucking yappy right now. There's 83 people in here, and no one has any comments or questions about this. If not, we can just end the stream early. It's fine with me. I'm doing this for you guys. All right, well, go over to Twitch, see if anyone has anything to say. So what are the bearish arguments? I already went over it. The Ichimoku Cloud, the weekly and the 3-day is horrendous right now. But as someone pointed out, you know, they're lagging indicators. They could be invalidated. Why is everything correlated with Bitcoin right now? Everything's always correlated with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, you know, it runs the show. That's just the way it is. Doesn't Litecoin look like a descending triangle? Yeah, it is a descending triangle. So what? That's what I got drawn, dog. It's a descending triangle. Red trend line is getting weaker and weaker. It's getting weaker with less price explosion after is being touched. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I got a few red trend lines here. What is your most contrarian idea right now? I mean, I just gave both sides of the coin here, no pun intended, for both the bullish and the bearish argument. I just see more in the bull's favor, more in the bull's corner right now. Thought that was a bearish pattern, or am I wrong? No, it is not an inherently bearish pattern. Within context, it can be a bullish pattern. So I'm going to show you a nifty site. It's Bulkowski. He's got a database, and he tells you the probability of, this is based on just like historic trends, and breakout can be in any direction, but it's downward 64% of the time. I think this is where people get confused. Okay, so they see can be any direction, but it's downward 64% of the time. However, here's the caveat. If price rises into the pattern, it breaks out upward 73% of the time. So if it meanders sideways or it goes down, it has a very high probability of going down. But if it breaks up, if it is at the top of a pattern, if it's at the top of a pattern, it has a very high probability of breaking up. On BTC, do you think that was a spring in phase B? Dude, I'm gonna fucking kill this dog. I'm cutting weight for a tournament this weekend, and I'm not in the mood to listen to some fucking yappy dog right now. All right, what is the question? On 529, was that what's the question? So do you think that was a spring? Yeah, I already talked about this. I think this was a spring. Yeah, I bought down here. I put fresh fiat on the market at like 7,200, somewhere in there. I felt that this was a spring. The low volume, pushing a lower low within the context of this trading range, it just looks like a spring. That's a great setup for a spring. I did PNF target calculation, and it says 700 plus for Ether. Can you check? I don't know how you have your trading range drawn, so it really depends. Oh, USD pair. Where are you drawn? I don't know how you have your trading range drawn, so I can't really. I mean, there's a pretty nice inverted head and shoulders here. I don't think you need a PNF for that. 130 plus maybe 750. You know, something up here. Maybe up here. Yeah, there's a nice inverted head and shoulders set up here on the USD pair. someone wanted me to look up XRP. I have XRP right here. Honestly, this is an ugly chart. It doesn't really have like a very well-defined trading range. You can argue that this is a trading range right here. So like on a lower time frame, this would be the trading range. You can see it broke down from this descending triangle. Basically hit its price target too. Yeah, basically hit its price target right there. Oh, it's in a nice little bull pennant right here too. Lots of coins making this pattern right now. And it looks like it broke out of its trading range. So there's a nice trading range right here. Right there. Something like that. You can see it broke north of it, and it's making us showing a sign of strength right now. So XRP in the immediate future looks pretty good. But again, that's going to be dependent on what Bitcoin decides to do. If it wants to just go on some insane run, or continue its macro bull trend, that'd be amazing too. Oh, dude, I was going to say, Farmer Joe pointed that out. Yeah, no, I was actually just about to say that the XRP looks like the 2015 accumulation trading range. This looks very similar to the Bitcoin trading range. If we go back to like 2015 on the daily, I already have this marked up. XRP looks just like the Bitcoin trading range. There's a fucking huge shakeout here though, but so like if we look at XRP, it's very similar to what Bitcoin looked like back then. We see this shakeout here, a couple of secondary tests, and then you know, it moved upward into this like bull pennant, which Bitcoin also did as well. So very similar. Peter said a divergence of V-bands coinciding with downward breakout of triangle would be extremely negative sub 3K. Yeah, for sure. I agree. That's probably the price target of this triangle. If it breaks down? What did we say it was? It was, the measured move is 5,500. Yeah. So 5,500, if it broke down from here, from 7,200, it'd be like in the mid 2000s is the price target of that descending triangle, or symmetrical triangle breakdown. That would be the measured move of it. So, you know, it'd be somewhere down here, you know, in this area here. You know, the consequence of this bullish setup not playing out is fucking huge. That's why I'm saying it's not like go all in time for Bitcoin. You're not going to, you know, take out a high interest loan on this because you don't know yet. It's too soon. But there are a lot of things in the bull's corner right now to support a sustained move upward. Come on, guys, give this video a like. Yeah, I mean, if you like the videos that I'm doing, drop a like. It helps with my metrics to get my videos in front of fresh eyes. People, you know, with YouTube's algorithm, however they present videos to new eyes. So, you know, if you like the videos and you want to support, it's a nice, easy, free way to do that. And if you're interested in joining my trading group, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com. Sign up there. Join the couple hundred people that we have in the group right now. Lots of great discussions going on. A lot of eyes in the market. Can you provide upside price targets? Yeah, I already did that. Just go back to the beginning of the video. I already talked about that. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions here? Where are your entry? Okay, this is a good question. Where are your entry thoughts based on Wyckoff's strategy for Bitcoin? So right now it's kind of risky to go long. The optimal entries from like a trading range standpoint, I'll show you, would either be a spring. Oh, that's gross. Would either be a spring if you can identify that early. That's a really great risk to reward there. I personally went long on, I went long here on the retest of the low. I initially thought this was the spring, but there was a test of deeper lows there. But yeah, I went long right in here. I forget what it was, the upper 7200s, because I believe this was a spring based on my macro accumulation theory. But the other entries, if you didn't catch the spring, would be these are let's make this smaller. These are called last points of support. We would call this a sign of strength, and we would call this last point of support, which is great because it actually coincided with preliminary support. This is like this makes a Wyckoff happy here. So you'd long the last point of support here, or this guy, because you would call this a jump across the creek, and this is the B-U-E. I don't like that E. B-U-E-C, and you take a long here. If it made a higher low, would be a really great entry. Typically, it's not advisable to trade within the trading range unless you've got a strong case for last point of supply or a spring. So ideally, you would want to go long here or short here if you think it's distribution or you think it's just a secondary test and it's going to return. Longing here is a very bad risk to reward because you don't know if it's ready for markup. I don't see... personally, I'm not looking to go long here. What I'm looking to do is wait for whatever breakout hits, long the throwback. I don't like this risk to reward. It kind of sucks. We're still inside the trading range. Anytime you're inside the trading range, it is just fuckery left and right. I mean, you see it like 100% retracement, 100% retracement. It's just, they're all traps. So the further to the edge you can trade, the better. You really want to avoid trading on the interior. It's just rife with traps and heartache. So, if you didn't long the last point of supply, you didn't long the spring, the next entry opportunity would be on the breakout and evidence that it finds support here. It's not always advisable to long the breakout here, because oftentimes you see a major, so this is an SOS, sign of strength, but sometimes you see a major SOS where it breaks above the trading range, supply appears in here and it returns to the bottom. So this is bad news bears for those guys. So typically what you want to see is a breakout, and then it finds support here or somewhere, somewhere up here. So it breaks out, finds support, and you long this support and go up. So those are my entry points for a trading range. So I hope that answered your question. Just subbed. Great TA. Thanks, dude. So someone on Twitch is asking me, what's the point of streaming on Twitch if I don't read this? I do read it. Any opinion on Tron? No, I don't have an opinion on Tron right now. But do you think we'll rally harder in the next run, Bitcoin or alts? Dude, I have no idea. If you're asking that question, you're already getting way too greedy and way ahead of yourself. That's a really bad mindset to think in. You're thinking of get rich quick, not get rich reliably. So I really don't like those kind of questions. I will say this though. There's a very strong, I'm gonna stay with this. There's a very strong case that Litecoin is going to greatly outperform Bitcoin in the next bull market, and that's where I'll be looking to take a pretty sizable position there. I already have a long open on Litecoin Bitcoin futures. I'm just waiting for the breakout to add to it. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Anything you want to pick my brain about or have a discussion about? So someone on Twitch is asking me this. What do you think of the yearly Bitcoin comparison to the 5-year on the legalized gold trading in the early 70s? I have not looked at that comparison, so I don't think anything of it right now. Why Litecoin? Because I already talked about it, my dude. I think it's in a massive accumulation trading range over the course of a year. It's been accumulating, just waiting for its opportunity to strike. This gigantic trading range, where this is this shakeout. This is the last point of supply, higher last point of supply, and this last point of supply is a mini reaccumulation trading range. Very, very strong case for a sustained, just rip Bitcoin, Litecoin bull market. Any opinion on ICON, ICX as a project? No, I don't have any opinions on that. Do you play breakout of Litecoin Bitcoin trading range, horizontal or triangle? Where do you see it? I don't see a triangle. I don't see a triangle for Litecoin Bitcoin. If I got your logic right, we are currently on the third Bitcoin spring, so we are going to see a rally, a really good rally on the daily chart. Guys, this is not a spring. Just because it makes a low does not mean this is a spring. A spring is a breakout of the trading range to the bottom, and then it comes up. This is a spring, for example. Okay, so we've got our trading range here. This is a spring. This is not 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 a spring. Just like these are not springs. Okay, if it made a new low, this would be a spring down here. Could you look at the S&P? Yep. I keep tabs on stocks. It has a very bullish breakout of this symmetrical triangle or bull pennant, whatever you want to call it. And it's pushing up. Looks good. Thoughts on silver? Yeah. So silver, someone follows me on Twitter. So silver is, so if you look at the monthly B bands on silver, look how fucking tight these things are, dude. Very, I don't know why TradingView does this. Very tight, okay? Very consolidated. As we zoom in closer to like the 3-day chart, for example, same story on the Bollinger Bands. And it's in this nice symmetrical triangle here. Okay, it's in a very well-defined trading range. I believe this is last point of support for this accumulation trading range. This is a massive accumulation trading range. There are a lot of historical charts that look just like this, and it's very consolidated. I think for a long-term investment, silver is something I'm not buying silver yet because you know, you could have a terminal shakeout where you get a better buy down here. But I'm looking for a strong breakout of this triangle, and I'm going to buy a nice chunk of silver. Just a big old silver cube I can put up in my living room and just look at. So someone says, wild, especially since Litecoin has been the worst performing out of the big 3 out of 4. Yeah, so Litecoin has been performing like shit relative to like the other coins. But that's because it's in an accumulation trading range. Like this is the whole point of accumulation trading ranges. Just fun fact about accumulation trading ranges is they're supposed to be like, this is the ideal accumulation trading range, is that it's just a slow, long grind where people are just like, man, this thing's fucking dead. It's not performing well. This looks like shit. People are like capitulating. They're looking to get out. They're like, man, my money could be best spent elsewhere. And right when the last bit of volume dries up, boom, it takes off. So I like charts that look like this. These are great setups. It looks very similar to the silver setup, actually. If we look at the silver chart right now, a lot of similarities here. Okay. I think that's enough for now. I'm fucking hungry, guys. Although I can't eat anything. I'm cutting weight right now. And I'm like 6 pounds over. So I could lose 6 pounds in a day and a half, and it sucks. So your boy's hungry and grumpy, which has been really hard because it's like when you're hungry and grumpy and you're trading, you trade like shit. So not ideal for me right now. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys right now. We'll stay tuned. If we see a breakout, maybe we'll do a stream on Friday or over the weekend or something. Then I fucking forgot what I was gonna say. That's kind of what happens when you're hungry. Anyway, if you want to stay in touch with me and participate in the discussions in my trading group, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com, where you can sign up and get access to my Discord and all that great stuff. A lot of great discussions going on in there. Yeah. Or if you just want to support the stream, drop a like, share it on YouTube, share it with your mom, show her what a handsome young man you've become, and make her proud. Okay? All right. You guys have a great rest of your night. And again, go to bitcoinschmitcoin.com and sign up. All right. Peace.